You're listening to Bigfoot Society, and I'm Jeremiah Byron. In this show, we go beyond the campfire stories to bring you firsthand encounters from people who say they've seen something impossible, from backwoods trails and remote mountain haulers to quiet farms and crowded highways. The stories come from everywhere, and each one leaves us with more questions than answers. These are the voices of the people who've lived it, so settle in, because today you'll hear another account that just might change the way you see the woods forever. So stay with us. All right, Bigfoot Society, we've got the privilege of talking to Carissa today. Carissa is a listener of the show from Oregon and has some really interesting things to share. I believe, Carissa, you reached out to me and you said, hey, you're the one I'm going to tell the stories to. I picked you. Something like that. It was fun. So I appreciate that's a really special thing, and I do not take that lightly at all. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing great. We are in and out of some cold weather out here in Iowa, but not too cold yet, but we're going to make it. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and feel free to take us back to when you started having these interactions or what you experienced, and then we'll chat about it later on.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start with the story that I'd sent you. Was lucky enough to get a fire watch job here in Oregon, and they have lookout towers in certain spots all over the forest around here. And I had spent a weekend in one general area, and after the weekend was over, it was time for me to go home, get rested up and all that until I got another call to go out. I had left. It was Monday morning, I do believe, Sunday night or Monday morning, one of the two. It was Monday morning. And so I went fishing for a couple hours, hung out around the area because it's just a good scenic place to be. It's peaceful. It's just a nice area. And there's a way to cut over from where I was over the hill, and it gets me closer to home. And we get to drive through the forest, look at nature, and just have fun. And anyways, it was getting pretty dark out, and I was getting tired. And I was almost to the very top of where you cross over, and I was like, maybe I'll just take a little nap for a couple hours and then get up and continue on home. And I had found this little spot off the side of the road that I could tell people had camped there before. So I decided to back in there. And as I'm backing in, my dog and my son's dog that I had with me at the time completely just were barking at the back end of my SUV, like unhinged, just freaking out. So I stopped and I had my spotlight and I leaned out the window and didn't see anything back there, and I yelled at them to be quiet because they're loud. And anyways, I continued to back up slowly, but as I was backing up, like it was almost, there's nothing behind me. It's like a wide open campground. So I'm backing up, but it's like a resistance, almost like I could tell, like it almost felt like I was hung up on something for a second. And so then I stop again and I got out and looked and there's nothing. And I'm like, what the heck? So I finishing backing up. At this time, there was no resistance when I got back in the vehicle, and I parked there, and my dogs just started freaking out again. And when I have really good dogs, like, and whatnot, but they are not having it. Whatever's out there, they are not having it. And it gave me the EBGBs, so I left. I came home, and about 2 days later, I got a call to go get ready to go to another fire watch job, and I decided I should probably clean my vehicle because it was dirty, and I vacuumed it. And as I got to the back, I noticed that handprint that was on there, and I was like, there's no way. And like I said, the only way I can explain the resistance as I was backing up is if almost like someone had lifted the back end of my truck but was pushing against it at the same time. I wasn't peeling out or anything, but it was just, I guess that's the only way I can put it, but to see a handprint like that, and there was lines, and it was odd to me, but instantly in my gut and in my heart, I'm like, I know what that is due to the circumstances that I don't know how to say this either, but I've also been kind of lucky. I will say lucky enough to maybe, I'm not going to say I've just not ran into Sasquatches per se, but I've definitely been around something in the forest around here a few times, and that just lead me to believe that there's probably things out there that you shouldn't be going to look for that don't want to be found, but you just run into them sometimes, or I really don't know how to explain it, but that picture really, how did you feel when you seen the picture?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the picture right now, and there's definitely, you can see fingers on the edge, but then it looks like a really big handprint. And also the thing I wanted to ask you is what it left behind seems to be very thick. Was it hard to clean that off, or how did that go?
I didn't want to clean it off, to be honest with you. I was so excited about it and whatnot. And when I put water on it first, and it did not come off right away at all. And so it took a washing, not like a scrub or anything, but a good, decent washing to get it off. And I was almost excited about it. Because I like this stuff. And yeah, it was something, I will say that. And just the way the dogs were flipping out. They've been camping with me many times. We've been out in the forest around here a lot. And I basically could drive all these back roads with my eyes closed. And the dogs have been on them too. And they've never, even since then, ever have went berserk like that. So I just feel like it was something cool. Definitely.
Absolutely. When you were cleaning it and inspecting it, did you actually touch the residue that was left behind before wiping it off?
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't. I was, like I said, I was too just shocked, stunned, and excited all at the same time that I think I even came running in the house and I was like, Mom, but she was too busy to come out there and look. But I just reminded her when I showed her the pictures the other day and she was like, oh my gosh, I remember that. Yeah, I was super excited about that.
Absolutely. Let's see. Because it was definitely some stuff was left behind on the back of your car. And
yeah.
What words would you use to try to describe what that material was, even though you didn't feel it, but you could still look at it?
When it's warm weather outside, it's summertime, and you go camping and it's a dusty, dirty area. Say you had fell down and you put your hands first and you got muck on your hands, or not even muck, it's just really dirt, but it's a cakey kind of dirt, I guess is the way I can put it. And that's how I'd explain it, is cakey, basically. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's interesting because looking at the photo, it's almost, so if you look at your hand and then you have, let's say you're looking at your right hand and you've got the bottom of the hand part, it looks like it was almost like putting its hand over. Is it okay if I say the word that's in that photo?
Yes.
Type of car. It's going to say what type of car it is, but
yeah, so, absolutely.
You know how you have the metal Pathfinder sign on the back? It's almost like it like put its hand right over it, because the bottom part of the palm is underneath the Pathfinder, but then on top you can almost see, it looks like a thumbprint to the right, which is wild, because the crazy thing is, and I've talked to Cliff about this from up in the NABC, the Bigfoot Museum up there, Cliff Barackman, and he was explaining to me with handprint casts how the thumb is different than ours. The thumb goes further up and closer to the other fingers in a way, which is shown in what you've got here in this photo, which is just fascinating.
And the other thing about that is it was still I didn't even clean my vehicle until 2 days after. I had driven all the way home. You would think that I kicked up a lot of dust even at that point, but that stayed prominent the whole time throughout me driving home and whatnot. It didn't blow off. It was on there. And like I said, there was no doubt in my mind once I seen it, that's what that resistance was. Like there was no doubt. To me anyway, there was no doubt. Yeah.
That's fascinating. So my guess is we're not telling the area because of your job, correct?
I'm no longer working there. I don't mind telling the area, because I feel like maybe if I do, because like I said, I've had other things happen in that general vicinity itself. If it's okay with you, I'm just going to say I live basically in the Umpqua National Forest area, on the outskirts of area. There's a place, it's the North Umpqua and the South Umpqua, and I live on the South Umpqua side. But where I had been doing fire watch was the North Umpqua side. But like I said, I'd cut over the hill, and there's multiple ways to go that way over the hill and whatnot. And I did take, at that time, the furthest route, because I just like driving up there and whatnot. But yeah, it was, if people are from around this area, they'll know what I'm talking about when I say Quartz Mountain area. And when you cut over, it literally is one of the highest spots on the hill around here. Yeah.
Gotcha. So we got Quartz Mountain, and then because I looked up the area, because I was looking at you had some in your email, and that's around Diamond Lake, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Which has come up on the show multiple times. And
Right.
it's some really intense stuff. The big one that comes to mind was that there was the guy from down in, we were talking about Prospect and Union Creek first, but then he was sharing how one of his hunting buddies had seen a Sasquatch crouched and hunting elk from behind trees in that Diamond Lake area. And I know it's been the focus of a few people that are trying to find out more information about Bigfoot over the years. So I'm not surprised at all that you experienced what you did. But so you're saying that you've experienced some other weird stuff in the woods. It sounds like it's really affected you.
I love it.
Okay.
Because I'm not yet to be scared of it. People might think I'm silly because like it interests me to the point of I almost, except for a couple times I don't want to go. Because I had a friend tell me one time, and his grandpa was the chief around here for the Cow Creek Indian tribe. And he had said that his grandpa once told him, you shouldn't go looking for things that don't want to be found. And something about him saying that to me it hasn't deterred my attention, that's for sure. But if I see or hear something, I'm not going to go chasing, running after it or trying to find what that sound was, because I've had a lot of tree knocks in my lifetime that no human could have made. There's no way that was just a regular man making that noise or tree knock and stuff like that. But yeah, like the very first time that I can remember really seeing him with my eyes is I was actually in Trail, Oregon, and I was coming over the mountain into Tiller, and right as you come into Tiller, that way there's a church, and there's a big old, not a huge billboard, but somewhat of a medium-sized billboard in front of the church. And as my headlights hit it, I seen a huge figure standing, like it was on the other side of the billboard. It towered over it, and as soon as my headlights hit it, it turned, and all I could see was an elbow and a foot. And I had a friend with me, and I don't say anything to him. I don't say nothing at all until we almost got to Days Creek, and he was like, "Okay, did you see that?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what did you see? Tell me now." And he explained exactly what I had seen, and I was like, "Oh wow, that was something." And yeah, that was pretty cool too. But and also I lived in Tiller not for the past 5 years, and you had brought up on one of your segments about the barred owls, and where I lived at in that area has extremely been taken over by barred owls. And I have just recently moved from there, and about 2 nights before I moved, and I know it doesn't have really anything to do with the barred owls, but I just found it fascinating. That was because what you said is right. People are going to be out there looking for these owls and come stumbling across something that could just verify a lot of things. But I don't know that at the same time, because I feel like also that they have some kind of invisibility cloak or something. Can't even. It's just. I hope that at some point that we're like, I want verification. You know what I mean? I just want someone to say, yes, this is absolutely real, and there's no doubt about it. And even though I, in my heart, feel there's no doubt about it. There's not. But just for, I guess, the higher ups to be like, yes, it's not a joke, it's not a farce, it's a real thing.
That's the dream. But this Tiller area, it's a small town. It's, I think per census, it's 250 people. Really small, on the edge of the Umpqua National Forest. It's got a ranger station there, that's cool.
Yeah. It's a tourist attraction. They have the South Umpqua Falls up there. They have a powwow up there every summer. It's a camping dream if you're into the nature, the forest during the summertime. And like I said, my whole life I've spent a lot of time in that whole area, and there's some interesting stuff out there.
And so, just to make sure I got on the right path from what you just shared, so you had a visual of a Bigfoot that was right next to a billboard next to a church. Is that right?
Yeah. See, it was running across. This isn't really a town. Like when I say it's a town, because it has a post office and all, but there's not like neighbors close together, or here's a house, and then a little ways down there's another house. It's a forested area at all times, and it is in the mountains. It's a drive to get there, and I could see where it could have been running from the hill on the other side to go to the river and across the river or whatever. But it's just when my headlights hit it, there was no disputing that something was towering above the sign on the other side of it and had turned. And then as soon as I seen like the elbow, like it was going to run, is the only way I can describe it. And then his foot kicked up and then it was gone. And I didn't take my eyes off, nothing, but it was just into the darkness. There was no seeing nothing. And I just kept going because I didn't know if my friend had seen it at that point, but as soon as we got into Dave's Creek and he said that, I was so glad he had said something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. What year and time of year would this have been?
That was probably around 2013, and it was springtime.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long do you think you saw it for?
Maybe 2 seconds. Okay. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
Could you get a feel as to how tall it was because of, I guess, being close to
I want to say about 9 to 10, almost 9 feet. Probably about 9 feet. Definitely. Maybe even a little bit bigger. I couldn't see the whole head. It was just like the top of his head. And that's what I seen was the top of the head. And you could almost see the girth of it when it turned, and I seen the elbow because I was like, that's not like, I wanted to say out loud, say something. I wanted to stop. I wanted to do all these things, but I just was kind of like, no way. Yeah. But yeah, it was big. Definitely. Yeah.
Have you ever talked to anyone else in that town about Bigfoot at all?
No, but I do have a cousin that has logged in the area. And he tells a story about, and that's the other, okay, let me get through this first. But one morning, they were up there getting ready to start logging, he said, and it was barely getting light outside. And he says that he's seen one crouch down behind a huge stump down the unit and whatnot, and it got up and walked off. And he's not the type of guy that's, hey, look at that, because he was totally in shock too, but he believes that's exactly what he's seen too. He's also been in the forest his whole life. He knows the difference between a bear and something else. But yeah, and then I do have a friend that lives out in out Diamond Rock, which is in the Drew area past the ranger station. They have a waterfall on their property. They have a large property up there, and it's at the top of the hill. And she says one evening they were going down there, and she was staring at the waterfall, and on the other side she seen something very tall standing there, and in her mind right away, she's all, I seen a Bigfoot. She couldn't wait to tell me about it. And she was so excited about it and whatnot. And they're not people who would be like, oh, I've seen something, don't know what it is. Like, and that's what she's seen. She was dedicated to that's what she's seen. I believe her. But there's other people that have been around there. I don't understand how people can not be aware of certain things, or maybe they just aren't lucky enough to have certain things happen to them. I don't get it, because I also come from a whole line of loggers in my family, and they've spent so much time in the woods, and they've not had anything suspicious happen to them.
Yeah,
I just feel lucky.
No, that's extremely lucky, and I haven't had a visual sighting myself yet, but I can't imagine. And you just try to think, okay, 2 seconds, extremely quick, but it's enough time to stick with you for 12 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So in this area, it sounds like are there other weird things that happen in the woods as well? Or would you say the main thing is probably Bigfoot that you have to deal with out there?
Well, in that area, I'm going to say yes. It's a lot of squatchy stuff that goes on. I have another thing that happened, but I would really like it if he would be here with me to say the whole story with me and whatnot. I've contacted him and stuff, so hopefully he'll get back to me soon, and maybe we can both do this with you at the same time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We can definitely try to do that for sure. Have you ever heard anything happening over by the Prospect and Union Creek area?
Yes, I have. And if you take from Tiller to Trail and you cut over that way, you end up in Shady Cove, and then you can go to Prospect and all that. It's relatively close, but not. It's driving time. But in the whole amount of the forested area, which is a big area, but yeah, it all connects. It's there. But yes, I have heard about a couple events over in that area. Yes. I even think someone, wasn't very recently, but I don't know if you know where Camas Valley is in this area too, but someone had said something, I heard a story about someone saying that they had seen one crossing the road right there. But to me, that's a busy road. But who am I to say what their traveling paths are or whatnot? But,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of the things I was hearing from that area was things from hunters where they were being harassed. Just things were getting really intense. And usually this was like west of 62.
Okay.
Yeah. That seems to be a dividing line.
Right. And like I said, I've got some more stories. I want people here with me that have been there. So I got more, because it just seems odd for just one person to have a lot of experiences when other people haven't had any. I'm not one to judge anybody or whatnot, but I've had some exciting things happen. And I just like to have people that have been with me or whatnot be like, yes, this is what happened.
Oh, yeah, there's no problem with that for sure. I totally get that. Yeah. Would there be any other things you might be able to share at this time, or we'll try to get other people on board for another time then?
Well, let's try to get my friends, get a hold of them and have them respond to me. But I do a lot of the tree knocking is quite a phenomenon because like I've learned to look up woodpeckers or anything else that's going to make a tree knock. And where I recently moved from Tiller on that property up there, the tree knocking, it wasn't constant, but it was something. Like I said, it's not like a man-made thing whatsoever. It's definitely something very strong and very big, picking up something else very big to knock the tree with and whatnot. And so when people say they've heard tree knocking and whatnot, I hope that they've heard what I've heard too, because I've done a lot of looking stuff up and whatnot, and everybody seems a little different and whatnot, but I stress to people a lot, listen for tree knocking when you're out there. That would be the first sign or something to listen to for sure.
So when you hear that out there, are you hearing patterns, or is there usually a common thing when you hear the tree
mostly
knocks?
Mostly it's a knock, 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 and then it will stop. But up from the driveway when we were walking up, because we lived 3 miles from the 2929 Forest Road, and then once you get on the 2929 Forest Road, you got to go all the way down to the main road. So we live in, I'm just going to say BFE area. Right. So we were pretty locked in this area. But the first time my boyfriend and I and our dog were walking out the gate, we were going to go look for agates and at the creek, and we heard the knock, and I looked at him and he was like, you think he's counting or something? I said, I don't know. And then my dog at that point he likes his ball. And he had dropped his ball and it rolled down the hill. When he went to get it, he turned right around and came right back up. But as he came back up, then we heard another knock like up above us across the road. And so I was like, maybe they're just letting them know that there's people down here. That's the only thing I could come up with at the time. But that was also a 3 knock. And then no other nothing until we came back, and we had walked a good mile away from the house on the road, on the driveway. And as soon as we started coming back, we heard it again, but the second one didn't go off. It was just the same one that was down when my dog had lost his ball. But yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You hear a lot of that, and it really does make you wonder, okay, are the knocks happening because they're getting to a certain area, or sometimes you'll hear like they just arrived back in their area. So right. We're gonna talk about that, or maybe they're getting ready to leave. So maybe we'll hear some knocks that, hey, they're going to be gone for a while. It's like, you don't really know. The other odd thing about when you're living up there was, it's not odd to me. I noticed a lot of things, especially on our driveway, because nobody ever really came to visit us or whatnot. There are elk that travel through the area, and they do have a destructive pattern as they go through the trees and whatnot. But it was almost too much of it at times for it to be elk. When you're driving down our driveway to the house and whatnot, there'd be spots that I'd be like, what just came through here? Because it couldn't just be elk, just the way the trees were bent over. They wouldn't be like a little tree. It's a good, decent starting to grow big tree that would just be knocked over. And I'll always look at the splits and how those things are. And this whole area I don't know if maybe nobody's into it like we are or something, and doesn't want to go out there and looking. But I've always wanted to just pick a general area and sit there. Even though we lived where we lived, I think a lot of times we're a little bit too busy to be paying attention to other things. But I do feel like a lot of times they're right around us completely. Yeah. It sounds like it. So you're saying that on the property you were seeing a lot of trees that were arched over?
Yes. And then keep in mind, there's 42 acres out there, and we walked every single inch of that place and up through the trees. And there's 5 ponds on the property that are sporadically put out all the way. Our spring was up there. So we walked a lot all over this area. And but when I would notice the most is when we were driving down the driveway, if something was the way I see it was come up from one side of the road and cross the road and make a trail going up the other way. I know elk just all run together, but not really in a formal line or anything, but whatever comes through the woods right there it's making it's going and it's pulling trees over and it's doing cool things. And I never seen any elk poop out there because we looked and stuff, but yeah. And at one time I had taken pictures of all of these things, and I'm not really happy with Google right now because I've just really lost thousands of pictures.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yes, it is.
I would be not happy as well. When I was up in Mount Hood this year, a researcher took me to this area, and do you have it looks like something has grabbed a hold of a tree and just like twisted and broken it, but it's twisted over / it's hard to explain, but I think you might know what I'm talking about. I know
exactly what you're talking about. It's almost like they are making a woven totally. Type area. Yeah. Yes. There's a lot of that up there.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Are you seeing footprints in the area at all, do you think?
I'm not sure because there's things that have happened that I'm like, that is definitely a footprint, but anything like that, I don't know how they can't leave footprints. But yeah, there's been a couple definite things that I wish that I would have went back to and at least done something with it instead of just taking a picture that ends up lost. But yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And they're big strides. It's pretty cool.
How long strides would you estimate?
Depending on how tall they are, if they're an 8, 9, 10 foot creature, then they're going to take probably a 4 foot, 3, 4, 5, maybe 3, 4, 5 foot stride, maybe depending. I'm not really sure.
Okay. Yeah. Now, the place you guys were staying in on the property, would there ever be any weird things that would start happening around it? Something hitting the side, or one day you get out and you say, oh, hey, what's this on the ground? Was this left here? Why is this animal doesn't have a head? Stuff like that. So
we had to walk out of there a few times and whatnot. And but we'd seen like a bobcat skull. Obviously something had been eating on the head, but something tells me like I don't really think they're eating. I don't know what they eat, but I do have to say the 2 nights before we were moving from there. Okay, let me back up real quick. When we lived there for 5 years, and I had a couple of friends that had lost their home and stuff like that, and they needed a place to store some stuff. So they put up a shed, and they had their stuff in there. And this was about a year and a half after we had moved there. And they came one evening to put stuff in there, and we had just ate dinner, and we're getting ready to go to bed. And we were down, it was probably about a half a mile from the front of the gate is where we were staying at in a trailer. And they said when they left that night, what happened was then the following day when we got down to where they were, my friend said, did you hear that last night? And we were like, no, what are you talking about? And he was really just shaking about it because in his eyes, he's the meanest and the baddest thing in the forest when he's out there. That's just how he is, because he's not going to let himself be scared of anything. But he started telling us the story about the sound that he heard. He's all, it was mad, whatever it was. And he's all, and I've been out here a lot. I know bears, I know cougars. And in my mind, I'm thinking cougars make all kinds of sounds. And I have heard a bear out there roar and stuff like that before. And he was like, it's nothing like that. And so I can't really put it into details what he said, because I still can't, because when we heard it 2 nights before we were leaving there, when I looked at my boyfriend, I said, okay, so what was that? And whatever it was, it made such a sound, and it was not a cat. It couldn't have been. It was not a cat. And the way that it was something big and angry and letting us know it was right there is what it was doing. And there's a rock pit on this property, and that's where we both looked up towards. And it was wintertime. The ponds up there were frozen because right before that we had been throwing rocks at the frozen water, thinking how cool it sounded when the rocks hit off of there and whatnot. And then so this thing roared or was yelled at us or something. And when I looked at my boyfriend, I said, so what was that? And he was like, I'm not fully sure. And then it did it again. And he said, get the dogs in the house. And I'm like wanting to stand there because I'm expecting something big just to step out or trees to start moving or something to happen. And nothing happened. And then on the third time, we both ran in the house also, and we're standing there, and it did it one more time, and then we looked out there all night long. We didn't, from our window, we didn't want to go back out. Because I've been all over that place, like I said, all times of the day and night, not worrying about nothing when something's out there or when it's too quiet and you get the EBGBs and, okay, it's time to go in and stuff like that. But it was something. So then when I seen my friend a couple of days after that, I was telling him, I think I heard what you heard. And we both had the same description. It was angry, was not a bear. It couldn't have been a bear, or maybe we hoped it was a bear, but it was unexplainable. That's basically what it was.
Gotcha. And did this happen?
Yeah.
Did this all happen after you had the experience near Diamond Lake, that area, or?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. All of the things that have happened after that, I feel also like I was told one time, like once you have an encounter, you're more likely to have more than you are not to. And that's why I feel like I'm blessed to have these things happen, because people have lived in Oregon their whole lives and not had anything out of the ordinary ever happen, or that they weren't paying attention to. So I feel blessed. And I do feel like if you do have an encounter, whether it's, of Sasquatch nature or anything else, you are more likely to have more.
No, I agree with you. I think there's a few different ways to look at that. There's a side that thinks, okay, it followed me home, or
right.
There's another side, like with Dr. Simeon Hine, where you're in an area where then you get open up to things, and then you're aware of the stuff that's
absolutely
going on.
Yes.
I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to look at that yet. But so you guys don't live there anymore. You are out of there.
We are, but I've even joked and made I want to go back, and we can go back. It's just we needed to come to town this winter because it's rough out there during the winter times and whatnot. And if you're not, we've made it out there the last 5 years. I have grandbabies now. I need to spend some time in town with them.
Sure. Yeah. I get it. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, whoever's on that property is probably having stuff happen, I would guess. So you're in town. So definitely nothing happening, I would imagine.
Not in town, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of any weird stories that have happened over by Crater Lake?
I think I've heard about, okay, so yeah, but I can't really, I know there was a missing person story, maybe. And I think that also I'd heard a story of someone saying they were walking on one of the trails and they felt like they were being followed or watched or something and whatnot. And a couple times after turning around, in their mind, they were seeing a Sasquatch hiding behind a tree, almost like he would look out and they would like take a step back because they're like trying to make sure it's not a bear or something, and then step forward and it would peek its head out. I do remember hearing that story. My friend who told me about you don't go and find things that don't want to be found, their family is very involved in the tribal community and whatnot. And when he was younger, they were also in the Tiller area, or Drew area actually, and he says at one point in time the dogs were barking at nighttime. He got up and he seen something running down the driveway. He said it was huge. It was running really fast, and he just stood there in shock. He was a young kid, and I know that the next day his grandpa and whoever his grandpa had with him went and took plaster feet molds, or however that works, of the footprint, and I don't know whatever became of that. I could probably try to get a hold of him and see what happened with that. Yeah.
So yeah, that's really interesting. Because they're Native American background.
Yes.
But
yes,
that's something I don't think I've ever heard that, where usually that's a thing you hear that from researchers where, yeah, let's go cast the print, but it's very weird.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like his grandpa, I mean, he had some knowledge that nobody got to really tap into before he passed away and stuff like that. But the things that I've been told from his grandson, it makes sense. It just, he knows something or knew something. Otherwise, he wouldn't just go out and get somebody that could come and plaster the footprint. Like, he knew something had happened.
Yeah, I bet there was quite the story there.
Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah,
my goodness. This is an area where I'm hearing more about it. But yeah, as I said earlier, I usually hang out up in Oak Ridge, and up there's so much going on. But like down in this area,
that's what I've heard.
There definitely seems to connecting this Tiller and Drew, and then over Union Creek and Prospect, and it just, even
all the way to Diamond Lake. Yeah, it's all connected.
I would definitely say so, which of course is probably because of the cascades that run right up.
Oh, yes.
Right up through it. Oh, just because you live down in this area, have you heard anything about over in the Wolf Creek area?
Not so much Sasquatchy stuff, but other stuff, yeah. More paranormal type activity in that direction, yeah. Yeah.
So the stories you hear of, I think there's like a haunted hotel, and you usually hear
I've stayed there.
Stuff. Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
There's even a town that's called Golden in the paranormal part of it. But yeah, there's a town that's called Golden, and it's a pretty hot spot for paranormal activity, yeah.
Is it like a ghost town?
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Carissa, this has been a very interesting conversation. I don't think I've ever heard anything about Tiller and Drew, so I'm glad that we were able to talk. Hopefully we'll be able to maybe get something set up for the future when you're able to have some of your friends on to be able to share stories together, which I think would be great. That's always awesome when that happens. But I want to make sure that you're able to share everything that you would be able to share on the show this time.
I'm good right now. I definitely want to get my friends. I'll be on them. Don't worry about that.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you so much for coming on and for spending some time today talking to us about this area of Oregon.
And thank you for having me.
Before we wrap this episode, I want to say something directly to a very specific group of listeners. If you're in the military, any branch or forces, and if you've seen something that no one can explain, or if you're a national park ranger or forestry worker who's been told to stay quiet, or if you're a pilot who's seen something strange down on the ground, or if you're with the FBI, a federal agency, or working intelligence, and you stumbled upon something you're not allowed to talk about, and if you're a firefighter, paramedic, or search and rescue responder who's heard screams or found tracks that didn't make sense, if you're in the logging industry, on a remote oil field, or a trucker with government contracts, and you've had something happen that you've never told a soul, and if you're a biologist, a wildlife specialist, or a field researcher under contract who has found evidence you're not allowed to report, if you're a pastor, a missionary, or someone on a spiritual retreat, and you saw something that shook your faith, or if you work in the shadows, CIA, NSA, or anything with clearance, and you've seen what the public hasn't, then I want to talk to you. Even if it's anonymous, you can reach me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. The world needs to hear what you've been forced to carry alone, and you're not alone. You've got the story. We've got the mic. See you in the woods. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Bigfoot Society podcast. Every encounter we share reminds us that the world is bigger and stranger than we think, and that the truth is often hiding just beyond the tree line. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe to the channel on YouTube, hit the bell so you don't miss the next episode, and share this with a friend who's into mysteries, monsters, or the unexplained. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcast, please follow the show there and leave us a 5-star positive review, because all that helps more people discover the show. And remember, if you or someone you know has had a Bigfoot sighting, please, I'd love to hear from you. So email me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com and let's start the conversation. If you haven't gotten a chance yet, check out our membership community over at www.bigfootsocietypodcast.com. And that's where you can hear tomorrow's episode today, early and ad-free, and members-only episodes every week. Also, it's a place to connect with other people that are into the Bigfoot subject as much as you are. Thanks again for following along with the Bigfoot Society. Until next time, keep your eyes open, trust your gut, and never stop asking what else might be out there. And see you in the woods.